Hello, this is Strategy Miscellany, and this is episode 7 of Children of a Dead Earth campaign. We are reaching the end here. The war continues in the outer system with dusk over Triton. So basically, we have a fleet at an outer moon of Neptune, near it, and we have to get to Triton and attack the USTA force commanded by Admiral Jesper Picari, an aggressive and unstable commander. uh, who is over at Triton. And basically, we're rolling up the outer system bit by bit. We already pretty much control the inner system. So once we take Neptune, all that's left are the two biggest gas giants, Jupiter and Saturn. And let's see what we're facing here. So they have the gunship. That's an excellent ship. Gotta watch out for that. They have the corvette. It's a fine ship. They have the silo ship, which is their version of the silo ship, and again, never really works very well. And they have the solar lance, which is a design that seems like it should work better than it really does. And then we've got here a small methane tanker, because we need to actually have some extra Delta V to transport our ships around, unless we use ships that had just a huge amount of excess Delta V. So I'm going to bring a medium laser ship. I'm going to bring a railgun frigate. And I'm just seeing what else I can bring that runs on methane here that's fairly small. Actually, this missile schooner looks good. Then I'll have some missile capacity too. So let us begin. So that did not work. I took out one of their fleets, but the other one I didn't really have enough Delta V to properly maneuver, and their ships took out mine successfully. So I'm going to try this slightly different. I'm going to bring some drones so I can do a strike with a bunch of Stinger drones, and hopefully that'll help. And I'm going to try and maneuver a little bit more efficiently so that I have a bit more Delta V left at the end. So here we are. We start way out here on an outer moon that's actually going in the opposite direction as Triton. And the first step is just to get the fleet going here. Then we can set the frame of reference to Neptune and get ourselves on a better orbit here. So I want to fall in here, and I want to actually go a little quicker than just this, because we need to have enough time left to actually get this done. So here we are on a rapid free fall trajectory towards Neptune. There's Triton. And you can see we get to our periapsis in about 2 months. Now, once we get a little closer, I'm going to try and adjust my orbit a little bit here. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by right here at Neptune, where we can use the Oberth effect to our advantage, coming into a more circularized orbit. And now that we're moving a little slower, I want to go at the orbital node and actually align our orbital planes here. Yeah, that's actually not terrible. All right, so now we just need to actually match orbits with Triton here. So first off, I'll go ahead and raise the periapsis out here a little bit. And then here at periapsis, I just need to lower the apoapsis. And we should actually be pretty close to matching orbits once we do that. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 days. Pretty close to matched orbits there. Then we're going to set the frame of reference to Triton, but first we're going to use the methane tanker to refuel our ships. And now let me just set the frame of reference to Triton. You can see we're not too far from it, really. Yeah, something like this should work. Although our angle is a little weird. But we can fix that when we get a little closer. Alright, now I want to actually capture myself in an orbit with Triton here. But not crash into it or anything like that. Stay in kind of an outward facing orbit. Or maybe we'll even start by just slowing our selves down a little bit. You can see where you can get these sort of crazy, chaotic first trajectories here. Alright, so now we're going to refuel the ships again. And then we're going to detach the methane tanker and let the fleet do its thing without their tanker that brought them here. So here's our ships. Let's get ourselves into more like an actual orbit here. I forgot how fast the turns are now that we're in such a narrow kind of orbit. Actually, this might work in intercept. Let's give this a shot. Now, which fleet is this here? This is their weaker fleet. So this one I think I can defeat pretty easily. They evaded us. That's okay. I think I can catch them again. I don't know why it always thinks I want to intercept a missile fleet. Although I guess to some extent you have to do that to get the victory, because you do have to kind of clean up your orbit at the end. Let's start just by kind of narrowing in here. And let's try this intercept here.
Incoming transmission.
So these, as I said, are not great ships, honestly. I'm not too worried about them. Potential bright flash warning because there's a silo ship involved. So I'm not going to launch any of my drones. I will turn the safeties off on the rail guns here and let them fire outside their normal range. And use the sniper coil guns and the auto-fire rail guns. And attempt to orient broadside with you. So yeah, the problem for the Solar Lance is this 300 megawatt laser is cool and all, but it's a big target. It's probably going to get hit by something. Yeah, see, we already destroyed their 300 megawatt laser. That's basically the only thing this ship has, so it's already dead in space. So now it's just their silo ship, which oddly enough doesn't seem to be firing any missiles at me. Not quite sure what's up with that. But like I said, the silo ship is just not a good ship. May not be intended necessarily for space combat. More for attacking targets on the ground, really. Well, they are doing some damage to us. I will give them that. And they are still, holding up under pretty withering fire. There we go. I think they tried to launch a missile or something and blew themselves up. Alright, so first thing I check is that I'm not currently set to crash into the planet or anything. And now let's do a drone attack on their main fleet there. So I take my drone carrier. I've got 50 Stinger drones. I'm going to launch all of them. You can see them start to come out of the three sides of the ship here. I'll give it a couple minutes to let them come out. You don't actually have to do that, but I feel like it adds realism. And now, with our drone fleet, let's try and get an intercept on this guy. That'll work. Well, it says they evaded, but they don't appear to have, so we'll just keep going towards them. And the idea with this is just to soften them up a little bit so that my main fleet can defeat their fleet more effectively. Alright, here's our flight of drones. And let's target some of their systems. Basically all their guns. And their laser turrets. And their radiators. Nothing fancy this time. And once we get, about 30 clicks out, I'll turn the safeties off on the cannons. Let them open fire. So here we go. They're starting to shoot at my drones. Alright, let's open fire. Say goodbye to the frame rate, of course. They're shooting a lot of stuff at us, that's for sure. But we took out their corvette. Got a lucky shot on them, I guess. And we're doing some pretty good damage to their gunship. Actually, we just took out their gunship, too. That was a lucky hit. Unfortunately, our drones are running themselves out of Delta V, but that's okay. They did their job. So now all we have to do is deal with this little chunk of missiles here. Our drones crash into Neptune. And now I just have to get an intercept with this missile fleet. It's annoying that you have to do this, but such is life. Alright, there we go. Intercept the missile fleet in 4 hours. And basically all we need to do is shoot these guys down. Potential bright flash warning. But our rail guns, our sniper coil guns, and our laser turrets should be enough to take them out. If they don't just run themselves out of Delta V, which is also possible. Yeah, you can see our rail guns are doing a good job on them.
Incoming transmission.
And we have conquered Neptune. Great success. And you can see based on some previous stuff, I've got the silver rating. I need to do a bit better with keeping capital ships unscathed to get full gold on this. Now, the next mission, we actually don't get to pick our ships. And we have the Jovian campaign. Basically, we have a gunship and a small methane tanker to refuel it, and a methane depot we can get more methane at. And they have a missile schooner, a corsair, a cutter, and a couple of these marauders, which are just not great ships. They've got these little tiny coil guns. They've got these basic cannons. They got a lot of Delta V. That's like the only advantage of these guys, really. Their armor's not great. But we're going to be going all around the Jovian system. We're going to be doing a Jovian lunar tour, as it were. And again, we don't get to pick our ships. We just have to use this gunship. But I mean, the gunship is a great ship. So it should work fine. Okay, so I had to restart because I didn't calculate a good trajectory for meeting the methane depot there. And so I screwed up the situation and didn't have quite enough Delta V to rendezvous with it and refuel everybody. Let's try this again. So we start by getting off Callisto in a retrograde direction so that we can fall inwards towards Jupiter. And then we'll come in and we'll get our orbit here lined up with Europa's orbit. And now we just have to basically match conditions with the Lagrange depot, or the depot at the Lagrange point, which orbits at the same speed as Europa around Jupiter, just 60 degrees ahead. Now, hopefully I'm not too close to Europa. I don't want to get shot at by their ships while I'm trying to do this. Doesn't look like we're too close, though. Okay. So now, right now, we're going way too fast. Sorry, way too far out, way too slow, actually. We do need them to catch up, but not quite that much. So let's see. What if we go more like this here to start with? And now what I want to do is refuel the gunship. And now now I want to set the frame of reference to Lagrange point and see if we can't get ourselves to meet up with it more properly. Okay, so looks like we have to actually head outwards a little bit. Something like this, and then we'll fine tune it when we get closer. Go swirling around the galaxy. Well, not the galaxy, just the Jovian system, really. And here we can plot a successful merger with the methane depot. Go back to the Jupiter frame of reference so we can see what this looks like. You can see we're rendezvousing with them. And now that we're all one fleet, we can refuel everybody from our methane depot here, which has a huge quantity of methane, something like 140,000 tons. So it's never going to run out in this scenario. And once we've got that ready, I'm going to build an orbit that's slightly outward so we can catch up with Europa. And we'll go attack those Marauder ships there. So, detach the methane tanker and the gunship from the depot. And let's figure out a trajectory that gets us on an impact course with, or not impact course, but on a course to intersect Europa. So this, I think, is too much. We need a little bit less. It's a subtle little thing here. Or maybe it's too little, actually, is what I should have said. No, it is too much. I was thinking about it the right way. Okay. So here we are. That should work. We'll reach periapsis with them in about 3 days. And then what I'll do is I'll put both ships in kind of an outward orbit around Europa. Maybe I need to fine tune this a little bit first. Let's do that. Okay, I want to get a little closer to Europa here. Not quite that close, but a little closer. And then from here, I want to go into a orbit, sort of wrapping around them a little bit. Not quite crashing into them. That's not good. Now we get these sort of chaotic spiral orbits. It's funny that this is so strange. Let's see. Here we go. Well, you know what? This should actually work. Because what I should be able to do is strike the Marauders with a missile strike or something like that before we actually impact them with our whole fleet. Because I don't really want to have the tanker involved in a battle with these guys. But sort of a missile strike on them should work pretty well. Alright, we're about to go through the orbital shift there. Now I want to refuel the gunship again. And now what I want to do is a missile strike on them. Oh, let's get a little closer first. They're going to be flying by very fast, which is mostly a good thing. So here's the gunship. And I'm going to lob 40 flak missiles at them. Okay, something... Oh, it's because it's showing orbiting Jupiter. There we go. Here's our actual flak missiles. Now I just have to find a good sort of intersect point for them. And make sure it gets to them before the other fleet does. Now, why my flak missiles did such a weird trajectory, I don't know. Actually, here's what I'm going to do. The gunship is fine where it is. The methane tanker is going to split off and get itself into a more stable orbit here that doesn't intersect those guys. And I want to leave it in, a fairly simple little orbit so that if I need to refuel it or refuel the gunship, I can. But there's my methane tanker, so it'll be safe. And where's my gunship? Let's select that. And it's going to come screaming in at a crazy high crossing vector with these guys. And basically, we're just going to take them out is the plan. Hopefully, we have sufficient time to do so. Oh, that's a nice shot. Right over the surface of Europa, across its icy flats. We'll launch a few flak missiles, and we'll just hit them with everything we've got. Let's go. You can see us screaming by each other. There's their fire. We took out one of their marauders already. The other one's not looking great. Just need a lucky shot on these guys. It's all over for them. There we go. So now we have most of our Delta V left. We should have enough to go to Io without too much difficulty. I'm going to send us this way. And then when we're about here, I'm going to send us outwards a little bit. And that should lower our apoapsis. And we'll go ahead and leave our confused flak missiles and our methane tanker hanging around Europa. So now, set the frame of reference back to Jupiter, and we got to lower our apoapsis enough, or our periapsis, excuse me, that we can come down and deal with these guys on Io. So I'll go to about here, and then at periaps, we will try and figure out a good trajectory to impact the fleet at Io. All right, set the frame of reference to Io. And now we just have to fiddle with this a little bit. We're actually not too far off. All right, yeah. Ooh, that'll even collide with Io, which is not quite ideal, but it's pretty much what we want. So let's start there. And then we'll do some fine tuning when we get closer. So here we go towards Io. All right, now we're close enough to fine tune this a little bit. We don't actually want to crash into the planet. And ideally, we want to be traveling around in the same direction they are. So looking at that, let's say we do just a tiny little shift here. Then we'll mess with this again at periapsis. Actually, we want to be on the other side of Io. Let's see if we can do that without too much trouble. Okay, let's start here. Now we're actually traveling around the darn thing the same direction as they are, which will simplify things considerably. Now we just need to actually get ourselves orbiting the planet correctly. This sort of thing is what we want. It's just not exactly an orbit. I think I just need to shift my position in time to get this to work. What if we go more like here? But, you know, not quite so extreme. Something like this to start. The thing with the gravity of Jupiter is we very kind of wacky, unreliable orbits a little bit because we're getting so perturbed by the gravity of mighty Jupiter, ruler of the worlds. But that's a start. Okay, now we have an actual orbit. Or something like one anyway. And then we just have to use our last little fraction of delta V to actually get an intercept on this guy. Which, yeah, given that trajectory there, I don't think it should be too hard. Now, if I really screw this up, I can bring over the methane tanker and refuel this ship. I just don't want to have to bother with that, but it is a possibility. Alright, I spent a long time fiddling with delta V. Still came up short, but I have kind of a ringer in this case. because I have this methane tanker here orbiting Europa. So I can have it do a burn here, and it can come basically refuel my ship over at Io. And then I'll have plenty of Delta V to do whatever kind of intercepts I want and destroy their remaining fleet. The only concern is if my tanker gets hit by their ships on the way. I think I can avoid that, though. Fingers crossed. Okay, so now I'm going to set the frame of reference to Io because I need to actually get into an orbit with Io with this guy. So that's a good start. Then once we get closer, we can fiddle with this a little bit. Okay, right now we're going around in the wrong direction, it looks like. Well, that's a start. Let's start there. Now, wait a second. Let's see. So here we are coming in. Here they are. Okay, yes, this is actually the same direction now. Just got to make this an actual orbit now. That's a start. Oh, come on. All right, let's see. Something like this. And now I just have to figure out a merger with my gunship. Okay, now we've matched orbits there. Now we just have to rendezvous with them. Which, of course, they're always ahead of us. But it shouldn't be too hard to do a rendezvous. Okay, we're just doing some very kind of small scale maneuvers here. There we go, finally. All right, so now in 4 hours, we join the gunship. We still have barely enough Delta V to refuel it, and then the gunship can go destroy the enemy fleet. So, a small methane tanker is going to use the last of its fuel to refuel the gunship. and detach itself. And now the gunship, which finally has sufficient fuel to complete its mission, is going to do so. Alright, now we just need to do some very kind of subtle little burns here right at this point, and we should get a good intercept on them. Alright, now we finally have an intercept on them. Get a better intercept on them. Here we go. Alright, so this is it, the final conflict, except for taking care of their missiles, but we'll just send a wave of flak missiles after their missiles. Shouldn't be a problem. Alright, we go ahead and start blasting each other from extreme range. And we took out their cutter. Here's their missile schooner. Our gunship's out of Delta V, but that's okay. It's achieved its purpose. We can send somebody to pick it up later. The Corsair has taken some damage, but not enough. The missile schooner, similar situation. Our gunship has definitely taken damage too, but is in an okay spot. Unfortunately, we can't control our maneuvering anymore because we're out of Delta V. There's the missile schooner taken care of. And last among their ships is the Corsair here. And there we go. We've taken out their radiators. Their reactor can't work anymore. Now the last thing we have to deal with is this little batch of missiles. And let's see, where's my flak missile launcher? I'm just going to send 20 flak missiles after their missiles. Okay, can't quite do it the easy way. That's okay. Alright, let's start like this. And then once we get closer, we can extend the trajectory here. And we just have to fine tune this a little bit. Basically, this should just run their missiles out of Delta V. There we go. Finally an intercept. Alright, so here's our fleet of flaks against their fleet of strikers. Potential bright lights warning.
Incoming transmission.
And yep, they ran themselves out of Delta V. The USTA claims the people will resist on the surface of the moons. We'll see about that. And this was very close. Yeah, as you can see, the High Command is ready to nuke them from orbit if necessary. And yeah, that was far from my most efficient way I've ever beaten this mission, I have to admit. That was a grueling slog across the moons of Jupiter. But in the end, we won. And next time we will have the final mission, the Fall of Titan, where we send a fleet from Enceladus and destroy the final major USTA fleet around Titan. This is the last major conglomeration of ships they have. And we get a big amount of money and mass to deal with, so we can really put together a big fleet to mess them up. We will do that next time and then watch the ending. But for now, that is episode 7. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.